Hey everyone, if you love combat sports, Kyokushin Karate, MMA, boxing, all the other sports such as ice hockey and like say football, basketball, you name it, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe, comment button to the Drewsperience show. It's on all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, probably Google Podcasts. I have it listed on there too. And we are a community that is constantly growing. Today's guest is one that I've been seeking out for a very long time. I came across his page in the beginning of 2021 when I met the KRT boys, Sensei Wesley Jensen and Sensei Darren Stringer, and I'd been wanting to get him on. We had a lot of back and forth. Timing is never right, but then again, that's how it is when you're in this podcast game. But finally, we found a day. We made it happen. He's the one, the only Senpai Jonas Rosin, also known as Young Dolph Lundgren, as I like to call him. Welcome to the Drewsperience, Jonas.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
It was a big honor to have you on. I'm a big fan of Sweden, and you know, Sweden is such a beautiful country because you could have chosen ice hockey, bandy, football, which we call soccer here, maybe rugby, skiing, and you settled on martial arts, which Dolph Lundgren settled on. So what led to choosing martial arts aside from all the other choices you had for a sports career or hobby?
So yeah, hobby. The biggest influence is my father, really. Mm-hmm. My father trained Kyokushin when he was younger, and he had a hiatus or like a break. And one of our family friends, their daughter trained Kyokushin under my old Shian, and this Shian Robert is a good friend of my father's. So they introduced me, like the daughter of my friend's family and my father, to Kyokushin, and I've never looked back. I was 7 years old, I remember, and since then I think I've been to vacation a few times, but other than that I never said no to training. Like when I was young, everything was always. I remember I was maybe 9 or 10. We were out in the yard and playing with my friends, and my father told me Jonas, I have to go to training now, but I'll catch you later. Like he didn't want to disturb me because he thought I was playing with my friends. And I remember telling him no, is it training now? Oh, I forgot. Oh, I have to get my things and go training. So for me, I really love training. Like that's my main hobby. Like competing for me, it's something that motivates me and something that I enjoy doing. Maybe not during competition because I get so nervous, but before and after. But training for me, it's really the big thing. I really love training.
Do you feel it is a therapy to help you deal with whatever is going on outside of the dojo?
Sometimes, yes, of course. But for me, the dojo now is a lot of responsibilities. I teach and I train myself and all of this. So for me, therapy is more going to the gym or out running when I'm can be alone in my thoughts, and there's no responsibilities of me behaving and doing in a certain way. So running and going to the gym is more therapeutic right now when I'm teaching the classes and everything.
Okay, that's really awesome to hear. Now, you did say that your father was what got you into karate, but did you have any outside influences, like in the movies or pro fighters, like in other forms of combat sports, that motivated you to take up martial arts?
Not taking up martial arts. I was only 7, and at that time, not that I remember. Later in life, of course, I had different people I looked up to. One of them being Shea Roberts' son, Kevin. He was the biggest influence on me. I don't know if you know him, Kevin Wiklund. He placed 3rd, I think, at the Rengokai World Championships a few years back. So he was a big influence for me when I was young. Otherwise, it's other combat sports athletes, like for instance, you're from Canada. You're St. Pierre, of course. How he handles himself, how he trained, his attitude to training, to making such profession. You know, like MMA in the early days, it was the Wild West, and he really was the first, in my opinion, and how I view it, to really make it like a professional sport, and how he seeked out help from different trainers and different outlooks. And I've learned a lot from him, and I've tried to copy his style with going after experts in other fields.
Yeah, and it's funny you say Wild West because Sweden never really had MMA until Alexander Gustafsson came on the scene in 2009. So
Yeah.
it seems like MMA in Sweden, yes, MMA existed in combat sports. It has been very big in Europe, but Sweden specifically, when Alex came up in 2009, did that lead to, you feel, a boom in combat sports in general, whether it was karate, taekwondo, wrestling, BJJ, boxing?
Um, it's a good question, and it's difficult for me to answer because I was pretty young at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like being a martial artist in Sweden is like, I'm guessing it's the same in the whole Western world. It's like you're a bit strange in people's eyes, and people in Sweden have a, like in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, karate was really big in Sweden, and just as MMA is big right now, martial arts, when they're big and they're commercial, they attract maybe people that are in it for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this legacy lives on a little bit in Sweden. Like the newspapers used to write like, oh, karate guy beating someone up on the streets, and they associate, you know, gangsters in the street with karate, and it's like it's not like that anymore. But the older generation, for them, it's still a little bit, you know, yeah, they don't have
Mm-hmm.
a positive view of the sport. And now with MMA, there's more like acceptance of the sporting aspects of it, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but still the older generation, they see it as barbaric, and you know, like the debate was in North America, I guess 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're 10 years behind, at least in public opinion about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good right now. We have Hamzat Shemaev, you know. Yeah,
Yo, he's my favorite, man. Yo, I love. It took me a while to get used to him, but I
yeah,
love him, man. I love when I see that Swedish flag. I was like, ah, Sweden's got a bad mofo now.
yeah. Of course. In my opinion, the most of the work in his career is from Chechnya, like
Mm-hmm.
the wrestling and everything. But Andreas Michael and the guys as All Star, I don't know them. Of course, I don't know them. But what I see and what I hear is that they're developing a good team, and I think there's a lot of MMA. In my town, we have a team. Actually, the head coach of this MMA team, he used to train under my old Xi'an in Kyokushin, but now he doesn't have anything to do with Kyokushin. But anyway, he has a big MMA gym here, and there's like a big local scene in Sweden from MMA. So I think we will develop new people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to All Stars because it's Andreas Michael and Madi Shamus. And Madi is like friends with one of my friends who I've had on my show, Nima Safapur, who manages Gustafsson, who manages Gegard Mousasi in the Netherlands, Penny Kianzad, who's from Sweden. So Sweden is becoming, as you said, it was 10 years behind, as the people would say, but they're slowly catching up too. So there's kind of like they were here before, but now it's like slowly coming to that middle point where it's like, okay, we're somewhere where we can say we're equal.
Yeah. And also I think one of the advantages of being in Sweden is we are quite a small country, and in my opinion we have a good tradition of sports, like in general, like you discussed about earlier. So many sports we had success in, even though we're a small country. And like to build on this into a new sport is not too difficult for us. We have the framework, and you just have to adopt the new skills and the new system, and we can adapt it to a new sport. So yeah, I think we will never have like many stars, but we will have some all the time. In MMA, maybe not boxing, we don't have the tradition anymore. Wrestling, we're going on the up and up, but we're still a little bit behind Eastern Europe. And in my humble opinion, I think we're on the up and up in Kyokushin as well.
Nice. Also ice hockey too, because ice hockey, it's because I used to love hockey before martial arts, and not many people know that. So I like to really put it out there. Like I used to play hockey. I was terrible at ice, so I played deck hockey, which is on the floor because I couldn't skate. But when I watched it, and I always felt that Sweden was like a poor man's Canada, and I say that with all the respect there is, because Sweden was always there. They're always medaling. I always felt they were like Canada's northern brother. And then you have the Finns, who are like the crazy uncle, because the Finns play a very I don't know if you follow ice hockey, but there's the terms we
Sure.
like to use. Okay, good. So we like to say in Canada, the Finns are chippy. They play an in-your-face kind of game, man-to-man. They stick to you like a fly. And then there was in Canada and the US and Sweden. Like I always used to say first, I kind of had a phase where it's like, yeah, I like Finland because I like their style. But then over time, it's like, you know what? I kind of like Sweden more because they've had more superstars like Peter Forsberg, Daniel Alfredson, Henrik Lundqvist. Mika Zibanejad right now, half Iranian because I'm half Iranian, so I love that. So I've always loved Mika Zibanejad. He's because he's half Iranian. And speaking of ice hockey and Mika Zibanejad, there's a lot of Iranians in Sweden that just migrate. Like, what are you guys doing to attract all the Iranians to Sweden?
I think there's a historic reason for this that I'm not capable of answering, but I'm guessing during some part of Iranian history, we had close ties to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're pretty known for accepting a lot of immigrants, like from Syria now in 2015, now from Ukraine. Like it has its ups and downs, of course, accepting a lot of the refugees. But yeah, we through the years we had the Yugoslavians, we had the Iranians, we had the Iraqis, the Syrians, and now the Ukrainians. We have a, like we talked about before we started recording, we're a socialist country. Like of course it's not socialist like Marxist, but it's we have a pretty developed welfare system and everything, and it's a good system to start in. I think people see from the outside. Now it's a little bit maybe maxed out, but yeah, I think people from around the world they see Sweden as a state where you can come and you have an opportunity to develop and flourish.
Very true. And then taking it back to ice hockey, so you said you follow it. Did you have any? We have there's some very good talent thanks to your country that's in the NHL that I love watching, such as Lucas Raymond, and who plays for the Red Wings. But Mika Zibanejad, as I said, is my favorite. There's a few others, such as I can't.
Backstrom.
Yes. Probably the best playmaker of the modern era, the best passer.
Yeah, and he's from like really from my town. He's maybe 15 minutes away with car where he's from, and he's a big star here. And we have, I don't know, I guess you don't know our hockey teams, but here in Sweden, but we're pretty famous. We're not like in Örnsköldsvik where Peter Forsberg is from. They have really a lot of NHL stars, but we have had a lot of NHL stars going through our system. Like Börje Salming, he played here before he came to Canada. Niklas Backstrom and so on and so forth. We have a good tradition here of ice hockey, and it's a challenge for me. Like I'm a kids coach as well as training myself.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so for me it's a challenge like to compete with ice hockey because they have so much more, like a more well built out system. Of course, they have more money, they have more people to train, but also the goal in hockey is to play at NHL, and it's a lot of money and it's a lot of fame, and it's a lot easier, in my opinion, for them to attract talent than it is for me. Like, what are the upsides of doing Kyokushin? You don't get money. You get less money. You don't get famous. You don't get any of these followers on Instagram, anything. You just do it for fun and for your own enjoyment. It's difficult to motivate kids, but I found a few in my town now that I really believe in, and we have a good team going on, and so, but it's difficult. It's really difficult, especially when we have such strong tradition of ice hockey. Yeah,
and then bandy too, which is like kind of like ice hockey. Yeah, bandy is like, that's a really great one to really develop the hand-eye coordination, they say. It's so that's what I love. And
also we have a lot of tradition in bandy here in my region. Like where I work, it's maybe 30 minutes away from here. We have one of the best bandy teams in all of Sweden, and we have developed a lot of people from there. So we have a good sports tradition where I'm from. Definitely.
Nice. That's amazing. And then I would take it back to Kyokushin. So you trained, you compete, and now what is your how do you prepare for a competition? Because everybody's so different.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I had the camp last week with people from Austria and Belgium and so on. And I had a great long discussion with a guy called Serge Slomian from Austria. And we talked about this. And for me, it's a lot about doing less. Like I think it was Einstein who said, like, do it as simple as possible, but not simpler, or something like this. And this is really my philosophy. I try to base it on the pillars of training, you know, specificity, overload, principle of deloading and everything like this. I try to make those like specific principles and try to adapt them to Kyokushin. So in a perfect world, like if you would train for Kyokushin, you would do it as specifically as possible. You will do hard sparring and you will do it every day, and you will do it like until you pass out and you will get success. In reality, it's not like this, right? We cannot do sparring every day. We cannot do it hard every day. We have to have some sort of idea and some sort of periodization and some sort of, yeah. So what we do is that it's very simple. We do, like, do you know the constraint-based approach?
Not really.
No. So instead of I say I never teach combinations, but that's not true. I teach combinations to the kids, but to the older, like from 14, 15, and so on, I basically never teach combinations. I never teach someone to do 1, 2, 3, or left, right, and then a low kick or something like this. I try to do sparring scenarios where I constrain some things. So maybe I constrain the size of the tatami. I do it a small tatami, and when it's a small tatami, they will be closer to each other, and it will evoke a certain kind of solutions. Like I see fighting as a solution-based problem. You know, you have an opponent in front of you that has their own style and their own strengths and weaknesses, and you have to solve this problem using your own strengths and weaknesses. So if you want to train to fight closely, I don't tell them to fight closely directly. I just give them the problem, and they find the solutions to this. And how I construct the problem is how they will find the solution. So if it's close, as it's a small tatami, they will find solutions in close combat. If it's a big tatami, they will do more in and out. Maybe I constrain, like we have one of my favorite exercises. I like to call it the golden bullet. So have you played like Call of Duty or anything?
Of course.
There's like a mod where you only have one bullet, you know, and when you kill someone, you get another bullet. You're familiar with this?
Yeah, it's on the online multiplayer. My brother had the golden bullet. He used to play COD. I only played the story mode. I'm a JRP. When it comes to gaming, I am a JRPG. I like a good story. I can't do. Like for me, I play JRPGs and Metal Gear Solid. Shout out to Hideo Kojima. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, the golden bullet.
Yeah. So in this sparring exercise, we don't have a constraint on the field of play. So it's the tatami is as big as the room. But we have the constraint on how many techniques you can do. You can only do one technique. So they're moving against each other, and you can only do one technique. But if you hit your technique, you automatically reload, like in the game. So if you kill someone, you automatically reload. But this forces you to be constrained. You can't just punch and kick and be crazy. You have to really think when you fight. So you move against each other. Both people can attack, but you want to be successful in your attack. You don't want to attack and maybe they block it or they move away. You have to try to really hit them, because then you can hit again. You understand? So in this scenario, we train how to get in on your opponent. So instead of me saying, okay, today we're going to work at getting in at our opponent, everyone do low kick from long distance. It's not how I do it. In this case, I would say, okay, we will fight golden bullet style, and you will only be able to attack the legs. And I propose the question, and they come up with the answer. I don't give them the answer. Like giving someone a combination, it's like teaching someone the multiplication table, and instead of giving them 5 times 5, you just say 25 5 times. 25 25 25. You're not learning 5 times 5. You're just getting the answer. And so I propose the question in my exercise, and they find out the answer. And this answer may not be the answer I'm looking for. They may be having another answer to this question. And this is really interesting, because if you think about like Valle Dimitrov, like arguably the best karateka of our generation, he saw the problem of the low kick in a totally different way than everybody else. You had Hajime Kasumi, who was like the forefather of punch low kick. It was like the best, in my opinion, of all time at this. And then Dimitrov came and he turned it upside down. He chose the heel, like the kakato to the thigh. He found a new answer to this problem. You understand? And this is what I want to find. I want to give the kids the opportunity to be creative, to the opportunity to find new solutions and maybe doing something that's unorthodox because it works for them. And they get immediate feedback if the exercise is not fixed. Like if we're doing the golden bullet exercise, we're only doing to the legs. If they try like the Dimitrov kick, you know, and the opponent blocks or moves away, they get immediate feedback. Okay, this was not good kick, but maybe it works. And they do their newfound technique and it works. And they think, oh, I'm pretty good. I found a new technique. And they do it against this partner. And then we change partner and we keep the same exercise and they can try it again. And does it work again? Or is it because I'm fighting a bigger opponent and this technique I found out now, it doesn't work against this opponent. I have to do it in another way. Or maybe the technique itself is not good at all. It's just that it worked against this opponent at this time because of these constraints. So that's how I try to teach technique and try to teach how to fight. So it's not a system. I have a system of basic techniques that I teach everyone, like the straight punch, the uppercut, the hook, low kicks, and so on. And I try to teach basic footwork and basic positioning and how to stand in a fighting stance. But I never give them the solutions. They have to, like, it's an art, it's martial arts. You have to find your own solutions. You have to find your own way. How do I fight? It's not about how I want to fight or how the Russians fight or how the Georgians fight or how anyone fights. It's just about you solving the problem in front of you, the fighter in front of you, with the capabilities you have. And if we return to the original question, like how do we prepare for tournaments? It's very simple. We let them develop their own style, their own system. And on top of this, or in the bottom, I developed their conditioning, like their aerobic conditioning. It's like the pillar of my system, aerobic conditioning, and maximum strength and power. So we use traditional like weight exercise, squats, bench press, power cleans, push
kettlebells.
Sometimes, but not too much. It's mostly kettlebells I use with the younger kids. But as they develop the strength, I find it hard to load it properly. I think the barbell is much easier to load properly and really keep overloading, because you can only overload so much with the kettlebells you have. If you have 170 kilos of weights, you can really be elaborate and be specific. So we do strength training, really basic, like there's no secrets. It's squats, bench press, yeah, like I said. And then we develop aerobic conditioning. And this is the body's capability of producing energy with oxygen, yeah? And we develop this to a really high level. And then in the preparatory phase before competition, we develop this into more of an anaerobic, I don't know if you're familiar with there's two types of anaerobic systems. There's the creatine phosphate system and the glycolytic system. And in Kyokushin, we mostly use the creatine phosphate system. Anyway, it's not the point. The point is we're developing the aerobic capacities, and then we're turning it into the specific fight-like timing aspect of it. So like a fight is generally between 2 and 6 to 9 minutes, yeah? And if you look at, like, I try to draw inspirations from other sports, because I think our sport is so underdeveloped that it's stupid to look at our own sport and try to look outside the box. And for me, in the last 2 years, I've looked a lot at different sports. I'm a real nerd. I follow marathon running, I follow triathlon, I follow weightlifting, I follow a lot of judo, I follow a lot of sports. And the one thing I really, like one system I really try to adopt to Kyokushin is, you know, the Ingebrigtsen brothers, they're the middle distance runners. They have a special system where they do it basically like I do. They build their aerobic capacity, and closer to racing, they build the race specific capacity. But in between there, they do something called threshold training. So they just try to increase both the aerobic and anaerobic threshold. So how much work you can do, for the example, the anaerobic threshold. When you do work, you produce lactic acid. Like if you do hard training, you produce lactic acid. And if your VO2 max is here, and already here you start to produce lactic acid, you will not be able to sustain this tempo for a long time. So for instance, in a fight, if I'm fighting someone and this is my maximum, but I can only use this much before I start accumulating lactic acid and fatigue, we try to build the level of this component closer to our ceiling. We try to raise the floor, so to speak. So we have our general preparation period where we build our aerobic base, and it's longest period and it's the most developed period. And then we have a few weeks where we try to raise our anaerobic threshold, and then we have a few weeks before the competition where we specifically just do try to do it as fight tempo. We do everything in fight tempo and everything in a specific time domain, like the time domain we're fighting in. So this is our conditioning system. It's very, very basic. It's basically like a normal periodization that any conditioning sport does. And then we have the same normal periodization for strength training. We have a max strength phase, we have a power phase, and we have a speed phase. And this is like also very, very simple. We just build maximum strength. We try to convert it into power, which is strength times speed. And then we try to develop maximum speed, because if you know the force velocity curve, you have maximum force, you have maximum velocity, you produce maximum force at a slow velocity, and you produce maximum velocity at a low force, right? And you try to make this curve go to the right. So you want to be able to produce more force at a high velocity, because this is punching and this is kicking. You're high velocity, you're unloaded, but you want to be able to do it with high force. So this is how we think about our strength training. So we have two different systems. We have the conditioning system, we're aerobic base, threshold specific. We have the strength, maximum strength, power, speed, and all of this accumulates to the big goal, the big tournaments, the World Championship, the European Championships. I don't care about any tournament if it's not called championship in the end. If it's not World, European, or Swedish Championship, I tell my students, I don't care. This is training. This is competition training. Like next week, we will fight in Belgium for the IFK Belgium Championships. We have a team of 4 people. Everything we're doing is we're testing things before the World Championships. It's the only goal. Like, of course, I want to win. Of course, all my fighters want to win, but it's not important. The only thing that matters is this is like a dry run of World Championship. How do we wake up? What do we eat? How do we weigh in? How do we warm up? What tactics do we have? How do we do in between fights? How do we do after fights? Everything, it should be like the World Championships. We should prepare so that when we come to the World Championships in Valencia in 2 months time, 6 weeks, something like this, we will be as prepared as possible, and we will know how we will do it. And now we're like a team that's pretty experienced, and all of my students that are coming to this tournament, they have like a system already, but we're going through it, and you can never rest on your laurels. So you can never be certain of that you know everything because you've done it before. You have to always repeat it, always do the simple things, like how do you eat, what do you drink before competition, how do you warm up, can we fine tune this so that you get a better result. Like do you choose to wear hot clothes like after the warm up, or do you think you get too hot so that you cannot perform? How do we do this? Because in Valencia it will be hot. We know this. It's Spain in June. Of course it will be hot. You have to think about this. We have to try different tactics now, 5-6 weeks before, and not at the tournament, because this is one of the 3 big ones: Swedish, European, and World Championships. And if it's a World Championship, there's only one thing that counts, and it's results. This is not a commercial sport. You're not doing this for fame or fortune or anything. You're doing it for results and for your own well-being. And if it's named a championship, it's the most important thing. And
Very
especially for
true.
me, that's older. Like I'm 26 right now. For me, this is my peak. I have to just collect tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
European, Swedish, world, just try to collect as many medals as possible.
It's very methodical, the approach you have, and it's like it's like a clockwork like approach, because now it's different from my school, because the way my school, Xian Pierre Catafort, does it in Boosterville is when we're preparing for a tournament, he doesn't just throw you in a tournament and say, okay, you're going to represent my school, because he's also looking at the long-term health. And that's another thing too I get from you. You want to look at the long-term health of your fighters. You don't want them to go into a tournament, falsely prepare them, and then they get hurt, and then they don't come back because they feel like, oh, I got an injury. So what Xian Pierre does is he's going to assess your technique first. So he says, come to the technique classes on Mondays and Wednesdays and Saturdays. Once you get assessed, so I'm looking at it as a white belt. Now remember, keep in mind, I was a green belt when I was in my last school, which was under a Midori organization, which was cool, but I didn't really earn my blue green belt. I just wanted to get it and then take a break. But when I came back, I said, I'm coming back as a white belt. I don't want my green belt until you assess me properly, because every org has their philosophy of how you get your belt. So what Pierre does, is I said, to take it back to what he does is, I go to the technique classes on Monday, Wednesday, Saturdays. Once I get reassessed, then we're going to start. He's like, you're going to come in, you're going to start working on your speed, so you can see how you can block, how you can get in, get out. Like what you said with the compression approach, like if it's a small tatami. So that's the key. And then eventually we work on combining your power, your explosiveness with your speed. And then as you get better, we're going to see which tournament is worth putting you in. So that's what I like about him. He's not letting you pick the tournaments, because a real teacher is looking out for your long-term health.
Yeah, of course, this is of course we do it this way as well. The girls, now it's me, it's a girl named Agnes, a girl named Amber, and a girl named Mette who's competing in Belgium, and this is like our main competitors in IFK Sweden. Like for me, you know me, and Agnes, I'm guessing you maybe know her, Agnes Westrin. She placed third at the World Championships in KW. She was third now at European Championship in Varna. Like, in my opinion, like, maybe I shouldn't say this in public, but I'll say it anyway. Like, I have some sort of chance of winning the World Championships. Like, of course.
You have to have that belief. It's okay.
Yeah,
you have to have it.
Yeah, but I came second last time, and I've proven myself. I improved since then, and I think I have a good chance. But it's nothing compared to Agnes. Like Agnes, for I've looked at the competitors entering, and as long as Agnes is prepared here, she will win 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Bet the house. Okay. And then we have Amber. She's won European Championships in WKB. She's placed in like KW Junior Championships and everything. She's also huge experience. She's really, really good. And I think she has a great chance at medals in IFK Valencia. And then we have Mette, last person, who's just like officially joined our team a few months ago, and is up and coming. Not up and coming. She's a little bit older, but she's been through a lot of different schools. She's been a lot of different dojos. She's a wealth of experience, and now it's just about taking all that experience and trying to produce a result, like in a stable system. I think what she needs is really just have a system and an idea, and she will get so much more out of her fighting. Mm-hmm. So these are like senior level fighters, but except Mette, who's come from a dojo, all my fighters, I developed them from young age, like Agnes and Amber. And all the fighters I'm getting up right now, we have a very simple system. Like we start with national tournaments, and I'm pretty, like, I know people in Sweden, for them, it's like, oh, you're competing, it's so dangerous, blah, blah, blah. But these are kids, like they're 7 years old, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like they have a vest on, they have gloves, helmet, anything. They cannot get hurt. Like in Sweden, you can't even touch the head with a moshigiri until you're 12 years old. Like, just let them fight. It's my opinion. If they train consistently, they can fight in this young age, because like have you seen 2 7-year-old fights?
2 7-year-old fights? Yeah, I've seen some kids fights. Yeah,
and they're in Sweden, they have vests and they have helmets and they have everything. Like, it's impossible. Like, they're 7. They just go and they almost hug each other for 1.5 minutes and they are finished. But if we get this experience at a young age, when they turn 14, 15, puberty hits, they start to develop strength, everything. It's not scary to fight. Like if for them, they've fought since they were 7, like, and it doesn't count. It's just experience. And then when they're 14 or 15 or whenever, and they start competing more internationally at championships and everything, they have this wealth of experience of just competing. And this is not the big deal. The big deal is preparing. You know, like if you hinder your fighters and you don't let them fight when they're young, you're waiting like, oh, they have to be so good, that they have to do this, they have to have a yellow belt or whatever you have, whatever criteria you have. When they turn 14, 15, you think, now they're ready. And you just say, okay, let's go to this tournament, maybe nationally or internationally. And they don't even know how to compete. They don't know the basics, like how to wake up, how to eat breakfast, like the things I discussed earlier, like the most simplest things of competing. And this will destroy their ability to compete, because all of these things will take their mind. And the only thing they really should care about at that age is the fight. Like everything else, it should have their procedure. It should be somewhat standardized already, and before they start competing at the big championships. So yeah, for kids, I'm pretty liberal, especially small tournaments in Sweden. And then as the ranking goes up, as it goes bigger and bigger tournaments, I'm more and more restrictive of who gets to fight.
Yeah. Okay, that's smart. That's Pierre's approach too. Like I had some offers already to go into tournaments because people thought I was independent still. Because before when I started the Drewsperience, I wasn't with any organization. But like, I just want to make it clear, like, and I'm saying this politely. I love how everyone's messaging me. I love the offers, but listen, guys, not you, Jonas. I'm with an organization since November 2020. Wow, I always think it's 2019 still. I've been with an organization since November 2021. It's IKO Nakamura. If you want to invite me to any tournament, please fly it by my Xi'an. You guys know, everyone knows the drill. If you want me to participate, it's up to him. My development is with him. It's not with me, because I care about my long-term health. And I think you and him share a kind of that approach, because you're restrictive. You said, like, if someone says, hey, I want Agnes, let's say it's Amber. I want Amber to fight in this tournament, Jonas, can you do it? You're going to look at it and you're looking out for Amber's long-term ambitions and health. And I think that's what makes a good teacher.
Yeah. And like, you have to understand that becoming world champion in like a big organization, like a well-developed organization, is not something you do overnight.
No.
Like for me, for instance, I've competed now, like since I was 7, I started competing, but like since I was 14, like dedicated, really training 2 times a day, something like this. And I'm 26 right now, and I'm still chasing my first world tournament goal. Like I've competed so much all over the world, and I'm still waiting. Not waiting. I'm chasing this gold, you know. And you have to have this realization, like Agnes, for example. She's 20, 21. Like if she wins now, it will be amazing. But it's not her prime. Like her prime will be when she's 23 and onwards, 25. Like women mature earlier, so maybe 23. But anyway, her prime is not even close, and she's already at that level. Like you have to have patience, you have to have a long-term approach, but at the same time try to challenge your fighters in a reasonable way. Like we have different tiers in my head. I have different tiers of the organizations and the status and how the competition is. Like in Europe, we're blessed with having so many organizations, so many tournaments and everything, so we can really develop our fighters. Like, okay, now we go into this tournament in X country and you fight here, and we'll see, okay, now that you did well there, now you go to Y country and you fight these kind of people, and so on and so forth. So you have to have a system, you have to have an idea, and you have to have a long-term approach. It's crucial. Like you will never develop anyone if you think that they will become world champion in 3 years. Like it's impossible.
It takes a lifetime. Like for example, my cornerman Mohammed, everybody, like not everybody, a majority like want, to know, and, want to fight him, and, but then they say, but the thing is, there's never going to be another Mohammed chick. It's like, you have to create your own greatness. And, that's because of the timing too. Sometimes you compete in an era where Mohammed, for those who know, like he was IKO before he went independent. He was IKO one North America's best. He was known as the Young Mountain, the Canadian Rocket, the Canadian Ace. He fought guys like Alejandro Navarro. He fought Antonio too. So even though he lost to Antonio, but he was winning, but just Antonio caught him that day. But that was a Muhammad that wasn't really like he had other focuses at that point, and that's the thing that happens. But he just fought so much, and he also fought he fought the who's who, and it's just like, it takes years, and sometimes just the timing. The timing is everything of when you decide to, and who's there, and how you make your greatness.
Yeah, it's special. Like now with the current situation in the world, it's special. Like to fight at the world, especially IFK World Tournament, where like Russia is by far, it's not even close, the best nation.
They are. Yeah, you guys have so much talent in IFK Russia. It's insane. Like I just keep seeing, it's like a factory. It's like that T50. I'm going to use this expression respectfully because I love Russian history too, because I took Russian history. It's like they have a T-57 tank factory and they're just putting out all these tanks, whether it's female and Russian males. It's like, what are you doing? Like, Jesus.
Like I trained a lot in Russia, and I think, first of all, it's the mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like people talk like do I think all people from Russia are clean? They're not on steroids, of course not. Like, there are people that cheat in Russia, I guarantee. But do the vast majority do it? I don't believe so. Like for instance, one of my closest friends in life, general, not only Kyokushin, not anything, Alexander Drost. Do you know him? He's KW world champion 2 times. He's like one of the best of our generation, in my opinion. Like maybe he didn't get his due. Like when he fought Eriki Kembo in Kyokushin World Championships, like on the first day, in my opinion, he won this fight. I think everyone that's a fan of Kyokushin, they should go and try to watch this fight. I don't know if Kyokushin has posted just this fight or you have to watch the whole translation. Anyway, you should watch this fight. It's like one of the best fights in the last 5 years. Anyhow, I can say with 100% certainty that he's not on steroids. He's not a cheater. And people say like, oh, he's superhuman. Like Eriki Kembo just beat him and it didn't make a scratch on him. And he's like 77 kilos and Eriki is like 90, 100. And he can just stand there and punch. He has to be on steroids. Like, no, I'm telling you, their attitude is different. Their mentality is different. Their training is different. Like you don't know what hard sparring is until you've been to Russia. Like what I remember the first time I came to Russia, I was 19 years old. We were out in the like a old military base where we trained. We trained on the in the outside. Every training was outside on a little like grass field with a running track around it. And I remember how scared I was when Dmitry Savelyev, our coach, he said, Jonas, this time it's fight to win. It's fight sparring, like it's match sparring. It's maximum sparring. He said, like, I knew that it's like fight. It's not in Sweden or in Western countries when you say, oh, now we go hard. Like you go hard and it's maybe 80-90%. It's not fight hard. Like if you're in a fight, if it's like a tournament, it's not this hard. And the Russians, they do it like if this is tournament hard, the training is 110% of that. Like they really go hard when it's hard. Like they are smart. Like they know sports science. Like Dmitry, my coach, he works at university as a sports teacher. Like at the university level, he's a sport teacher. He's highly educated within sports science. Like he knows this shit. But anyway, they periodize this training, and when they do hard sparring, it's truly hard sparring. It's not like Westerners just think it's hard sparring. It's hard sparring. And this teaches them. And also they have the mentality of the Russian people, like we are the best. Like they have a different mentality than us Westerners. And all this combined brings them, and also their success. Like you build on success. Success breeds success. Like in this town, we have a a hockey team that has produced a lot of NHL stars. And one of the famous coaches of this team is, his name is Tommy Sandlin. I have a book of his right here. And he talks about success brings success. Like, he was the coach of Börje Salming and all of these guys, and they won the Swedish championship of the Swedish championship of the Swedish championship. And he said, success breeds success. Like, if you come as an 18-year-old in this team and you see that all of these players, they are the best in the world, they're best in Sweden, and they and you're in this system, you know that what we're doing here will produce these results. Like, you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Just this confidence. Like, if you're in Russia, you know that if I win Russian championships, it's more difficult to win the Russian championships than it is to win the world championships. Really,
Mm-hmm.
it is. Like, if you're IFK Russia champion, it's more difficult than winning IFK world championship, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another success of Russian people that's not has anything to do with steroids is their cooperation. Like,
Yeah.
the AKR, the all Kyokushin Russia, they're all fighting together. It's, even though IKO maybe not always brings their best fighter, but this IKO, Shin, Kan, IFK, you name it, they're fighting together, and they're producing, like, and have honest tournaments. It's not no bullshit. Like, sure it's politics, and sure it's people backstabbing each other, like it's in all organizations, but the sport itself, it's honest, and they're honestly competing against each other, and and the best man is winning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a success story. Like, we cannot be isolated in islands in our different organizations and different countries. If you look at Poland, for example, Poland used to be like one of the biggest nations in the world in Kyokushin in the 90s, especially before Sosai died. And they kept this tradition of working together, even though it's not maybe as developed as in Russia, but they still work together. And there's so many good Polish fighters. Like, they have good fighters in Shin, they have good fighters in IKO, they have good fighters in WKB, they have good fighters in, you name it. And this is because they have United Championship of Poland, in my opinion. And they have different small tournaments locally where different people fight each other.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Poland, because we have one in our organization that's named Sensei America in Chicago. And are you familiar with the tournament in North America called Ring Wars? It's in Rochester, New York. So
I was invited to this tournament just before the pandemic.
Yeah, Rene Cruz. Yeah, Rene Cruz. So Rene Cruz, like when I mentioned my organization, he's like, I know them. Like, and it's like, because he knows how good they are, because the Polish team always goes into Ring Wars and wipes it clean. Like, Marek just goes in there like an assassin and wipes Ring Wars clean. And it's good because it gives our organization like attention that say, hey, we're really good. But it kind of doesn't look, it's like, I just think, when you start claiming you have guys that can stand with a specific organization, it's good for showmanship, but it kind of hurts you if it doesn't come to fruition, because at the end of the day, you want to say, I have these guys that could do damage, but the best approach to say is, let's see how they do in the tatami with this organization's guy. And at the end of the day, everybody wins, instead of having a showmanship approach, because being a showman can take you far, but it can bite you in the ass in the long run.
Yeah, it's for me, like the KW slogan, like time to be united, is a little bit, it's cheeky, like but it's a good slogan. Really,
it is.
It's a good slogan. Like, we should really be united. Like, for me, like, being in the younger generation, like, I get frustrated really about this, like, truly frustrated that we cannot, like, just compete together. Like, I get it. You have your system of grading, you have your dance, you have your brand chiefs, you have everything, like money and all of these things. Like, sure, I get it. Like, this is your livelihood. But, like, do you know who Ashot Sarinyan is in IKO? Ashot Sarinyan, he's from Moscow. He's IKO fighter. He's a small guy. He's done well in the open world tournament in IKO. Anyway, and do you know who Artyom Nazaretian is?
Artur is one of my. Shout out to Artur, man. He's one of the best lightweights in the world, regardless of organization. You cannot know who Arthur is, and if you like, and if I don't know anyone that said a bad thing about Arthur. Arthur is legit as there is. Put organizations aside, he is of the best lightweights right now.
Yeah, you mean Artur Krimov or Artyom Nasretyan?
Arthur Arushian.
Rushanian, yeah, he's from Armenia, yeah.
Okay, I got confused because it sounds like because we're talking about Russians, and I thought that's who you're talking about. But yeah, no, who's the guy you're talking about?
Nasretyan, he's from Moscow, Kaiman, IFK. He's won the IFK World Tournament 2 times, I think, now in London and in Romania, and he's won KW World Championship. Maybe it's not won KW World Championship. Yeah, he won now in Nur Sultan, yeah, but he came in Sofia. He came second, and in Yekaterinburg, I don't think he was there. Belyaev won against him. Anyway, like I said before, I'm a nerd with this stuff. Anyway, like, to not see a fight between Ashot Saryan and Artyom Nasretyan, in my opinion, the 2 best middleweights ever, point blank, and not seeing a fight between them just because of organizations. They live in the same town. They both live in Moscow, and they cannot fight each other. Like, it's horrendous. Like, this is the biggest roadblock this sport has to pass, like, to be able to be a real sport, like a international sport, like a true sport. We have to be able to cooperate. We have to have one world championship. We have to have one European championships. Like, not working towards this goal and not like trying to get this aim. It's like, I get it. People are doing the JFKO World Full Contact Karate Organization. They're doing the KW. They're doing this and they're doing that. But just, I don't get it. Like, of course, I'm not a Shian. I haven't been in this sport for that long. I'm not familiar with all the bad blood between different people and everything, but just get it done, please. Like, if there's someone watching with a lot of golden stripes on their belts, please, just try to get this done.
That's my goal too. Like, because my goal with the show is like, even with, because RKO Nakamura wants to cooperate. We are growing. We do. And people say, no, Nakamura's, they're small time. Like, hey, so I'm not going to say who, but this one Shian said, yeah, you guys are small time. And I took that as an insult, because it's like, bro, it's like, and that's when I said, I didn't address him as a Shian. I said, okay, you want to do that? I said, that's a very dumb thing to say. It's arrogant. Small time. We're growing fast, but just because we're small, it doesn't mean we don't have quality. And I put him in his place. And I said that, like, you're going to respect the fact of who we are. I said, that is a very un-Shian like thing to do. And then I say, and I had to stick up, because it was just arrogant. And at the end of the day, like, if I want to talk to you and if we can find a way to help each other grow, then great. That's a win for everybody. My goal, like, I'm sure you saw my announcement where I said I'm working with Marshall Way, KRT, Terry Burkett, Shian Terry. Sorry, Shian Terry. I should have said Shian, but I said it there. Kyokushin Shuffle, One Kyokushin. We're all just trying to work together to help bridge everybody together. We don't care about politics. We don't care about what's happened in the past. This is 2022. Okay. When Hanshi died, Hanshi Arniel, there was a moment where everybody came together. So why can't we have that? Why? But we failed. I think we all failed, like, to take an opportunity of that moment to all unite, is what Hanshi and Sosai wanted. So now that's my goal. Whereas, like, when I got the guys together, and they're all my friends, I love them, and we've decided to work together. It's going to be slow. It's a process. I do need to make that very clear, but we're putting the gears in motion to make sure the bar is raised and break those walls down so everyone cooperates. And I agree with you. It's time to bridge the differences. Like, for example, you probably saw my episode with Shian Judd Reed. After that conversation, Shian Judd added my Shian, and what does that tell you? That means that a bridge was formed, basically.
Yeah, and like, for me, I don't care about what's your organization.
Same here.
I care about who are you, how do you behave, and how do you act, And it should be the only metric we account people on. Like, how are you as a person? It's a basic. Like, it doesn't Kyokushin, or if it's other things. You just judge a person by how they are. It's easy. And like, I like before, when you asked me to do this interview, like, should I ask, oh, what organization are you? Like, are you serious right now? Like, it's crazy. Like, people that behave like this, like, you can't talk to people. They share the same interest. Like Kyokushin is such a small sport in the big picture of it. Like Kyokushin is really small. Like if you compare to like ice hockey, for example, it's small, you know. And we're such a niche community. Like karate is this and Kyokushin is this, you know, and we still have to fight about, oh, you're this or you're that or you're, who cares? Like we're doing this sport, this small little sport. We all share the same idea. Like Sosa started this idea, and we share this idea. Sure, we have some small differences, maybe in kata or maybe in how we grade or maybe, but it's like similar. Like even the difference between IKO rules and maybe like Shin rules, where they can sweep and the wazari, and who cares? It's still full contact. It doesn't matter. Like we don't have to argue about this stuff. Just come together and realize we share the same interest. Just be friends. Just be happy. Just try to live your life like be happy. I don't understand this. I don't understand this.
Life is short because it goes by fast. Like it goes by fast. So just be happy. Look at the kanji. You know, that's what all you have to do. Doesn't matter if it's under this guy's name or that woman's name. Just come together. It's like, it's time. We live in the internet age where everyone's globally connected. Just break the barrier down. Like it's like even me, like I'm going to talk to IKO guys. Like for example, I love Andrei Cherkinov of God Hand Dojo. What he and Lasha are doing is amazing. And, you know, like they are like they have such a, like a factory going of killers, like kids. Like they're and Mad Max dojos, but I feel Lasha and Andre, like Max Dedic is still one of the best, but I just think Lasha and Andre have found a system where they're just gonna churn out all these killers in Russia.
Yeah, it's going back to Russia. They have a totally different system. It's so much easier, in my opinion, for them to develop people.
It's so true. Last question. Actually, second to last question. So, obviously, you know KRT. You know that they were the ones that helped facilitate this. What do you want to say about how they've done in terms of helping grow Kyokushin and taking the advantage of the pandemic to just help bridge everybody together?
Like we just discussed this about good people. Like, depending like both Wesley and Darren, like they're within the IFK, so we're the same organization. But for me, it doesn't matter. Like how they act as people, it's what I base it on, and they have a true passion for Kyokushin. You can see this, like to have these online meetings for people that during the pandemic that don't have a dojo to go to, and have like truly some of the best teachers in the world giving lessons on Zoom. Like they have a passion, they have a drive, and this is what we need in the sport. We need people to have a drive, to have a passion, that they want to share it, and it's not any bullshit. It's just training. It's just being a good person. It's such simple things that people have lost during the way. But like I'm happy that they're the new part of the new generation. Like they're part of, even though they're older than me, they're part of my generation, the next generation to come. And with people like this, I think we will have a great future. Like just watching how Wesley is conducting different trainings in Holland or in the Netherlands. You should say the Netherlands. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Like right now, and connecting people, and how he's developing their team, and like and Darren, I remember like he's also so good and so humble and so easy to work with. It's just they're two good people, and they spread Kyokushin, and that's all that matters for me. Good people is most important, and spreading Kyokushin is just a bonus.
Yeah, they do an amazing job. Like them, Scott, Shian Terry, Sammy from One Kyokushin, like that's they do such a great job, and it's only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, and I just feel as time goes on, I think slowly those walls, we have like our version of the Berlin Wall, like we're trying to break it down. It's gonna come down. Like it's like those differences are gonna like secede, and we're going to see an era where there's just mass cooperation. And as you said, you want that tournament of the best. It's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. I'm very hopeful about it as time goes on.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man. And so that's good. Then now I always like to ask my guests, take it away from karate and stuff. So this is a speed question. So When it comes to movie genres, I like to do this. Sometimes I got to do it more, but I'm not consistent. So I'm going to ask this: James Bond or Star Wars for you?
Ooh, it's a very difficult question. When I was younger, definitely Star Wars, but now I'm more James Bond.
Okay.
More James Bond.
Okay, perfect. And when it comes to anime, okay, because we all love anime to a degree, would it be for you? Would it be Dragon Ball or Pokemon?
Dragon Ball.
Okay, perfect.
Also, yeah, Dragon Ball. Yeah.
I figured, yeah. There's just, I could ask other animes, but there's just so many out there. It's like I don't want to confuse people. All right, that's awesome, man. So, Jonas, I really want to thank you for coming on to the Drewsperience. It was such a pleasure to have you finally get a Swede on. Been wanting to get a Swede on for a very long time, and we got it to happen. And where can people connect with you on social media for like training purposes and whatnot?
I have my Instagram, Jonas Rosin, and I have my team Rosin Instagram as well.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you can email me at teamrosin1@gmail.com. We'll have a camp now in August because I can't go to Russia and have a training camp. We will have a training camp here in Sweden. It's from the 5th of August to the 14th, I think. Mm-hmm. We will have a training camp. So if you want to come there and train with us, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, I'm really bad at social media. I'm really bad at posting. I don't post a lot. So like if you want to follow me, sure, you can follow me, but don't expect too many pictures and too many things because I'm really bad at social media.
No, it's okay. We're all different at it, but you're doing great, man. So keep up the amazing work. You've done a great job with Sweden. It's only going to get better. So you just got to keep on, you just got to keep hammering, as the saying goes.
Yeah, thank you. And I like to thank you for the invitation. Like for me, like this is my biggest passion in life. I love discussing these things. You maybe notice I just ramble. I just go on and on. So if someone feels like I speak too fast, it's just because I really enjoy this and I really love the opportunity to talk about it. Because for me, it's so seldom I get to talk to someone that's interested in this. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button to the Drewsperience and follow Jonas. This show's about him. So make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe to Drewsperience on all platforms. Episode will be out soon.